Tech Cocktail Sessions, educational and inspirational talks from experienced startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders.
Okay, so basically, it's been a dream of mine to be an author for a while. Since I was a little kid, I always wanted to create a book of some sort. I thought it would be a coloring book. Turned out it was a 272-page book. I guess I have a lot more to say than I thought. So super excited about that, and obviously excited to do something here in DC. DC was one of the first markets that we brought Tech Cocktail to, and obviously lived here for a long time, and wanted to make sure that it was one of our first stops on the tour. And actually, this is our first event on the book tour. Okay, so basically there's a number of people that are in the book that share their insights about the different elements that go into starting and running a business. So everything from coming up with ideas, turning those ideas into action, and creating a minimal viable product. Is that a tornado out there? What is going on? That is crazy. So again, the great view, look at that. So anyway, the idea here is there's folks that you know that are basically in the book, and they're sharing their stories. And so, is there a good place to stand? Is this better over here, maybe? Okay. So anyway, so if you these folks that are going to be on stage tonight are all in the book in some way. They've shared stories that have been encapsulated in the book, and we're going to talk to them about that. But then also pick their brain a little bit on the different elements that are or go into starting and running a business. So first up, we've got Rohit Bhargava. He's coming up here. Come on up. And we're going to talk a little bit about, marketing and basically some of the trends that he's seeing. So let's hear it for Rohit. Take a seat right there. There's your mic. Yeah, take a seat. All right. And there's a water down there. Yeah. Take it with you though, so for the next person. Are you on? There we go. Hello. Okay.
Almost. Yeah, I'm on. So you didn't have a sign on your chair that said like director or author?
It should. I think it should.
That'd be awesome.
So thank you first off for joining me, and I really appreciate it. You've written a couple books now. How many books? 3 or 4?
3 physical and 2 more ebooks. Okay.
So you got a lot of experience in writing. You've actually helped me along the way with different ins and outs of the publishing industry, which is an amazingly fascinating industry and how it's set up.
Fascinating and changing, yeah.
And changing fast, yeah. So I appreciate that. But what I want to talk to you tonight about is basically marketing. And for a startup audience or for anybody working in a big company, I want to see maybe if you could tell us a little bit about maybe what the process should look like for somebody that's starting and running a business as far as trying to figure out their marketing strategy.
I've always been a marketing guy. I've always been a branding guy. Yep. And my inclination initially was to go through a certain process where I was like, you got to figure out what you're going to call your brand, and you need to go and do all this research. And, I was at a big agency where they charge lots of money to do 6 months of research before doing anything or naming anything. Right. And then I started my own company, and I sort of said, well, I'm going to call it this, and I was done. And then I kind of found a logo on a website that sold logos, and that was the logo. Right. And I realized that maybe I was spending a little bit too much time crafting that brand and not enough time actually focusing on the thing itself. Mm-hmm. And that was a lesson for me. So I think for entrepreneurs, I don't approach things the same way anymore. I don't say you got to spend all this time to figure out what that brand's going to be before you actually do something.
So you would say almost just do it and then figure it out later.
Do it and massage it later, I think is the...
Do it and massage it later. Yeah. That's great advice, yeah.
Because
it can be crippling otherwise.
Yeah, if you spend too much time trying to get every little piece...
Pixel right, name, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're a marketing branding guy, that's your natural inclination, because that was the only thing you got paid to do. And in my case, that was the only thing I got paid to do for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to make a product. All I had to do was create the message around the product.
Right.
So that was what I knew. And now I was in a situation where I was actually getting much more involved in the thing itself.
Right.
And I realized, well, maybe I'm spending too much time on just the thing I know instead of the stuff that I don't
So you
know.
actually need to build the product part, is what you're saying. You were focusing on the branding and getting that right, and then
Yeah, I mean, the difference for me was I actually had some input in the product, right?
Right, yeah.
As opposed to being the guy that kind of tried to create a story around something that was already,
built.
built as good or crappy as it was ever going to be.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about personality. You've got a personality yourself. You're big on personality. What's your overall thoughts on just personality and what people should do as far as sharing their message and getting it out there?
I talk a lot about like Jennifer Lawrence. I think is like a brilliant example of like a Hollywood star who's she's a good actress. She's in a lot of amazing films. But people love her because she goes and she gets the award and she trips and she falls and she has a wardrobe malfunction and she gets back up and she goes and she accepts the award and she says, well, at least I was wearing underwear. And you're like, that's cool. Like that's natural, like we don't see that from.
That's what I need to trip and fall more and I guess wear underwear. I don't know.
Wearing underwear
that's a win.
is key. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I know you're on the first day of the book tour.
So this is day one. I should probably learn from her.
You haven't even gotten to the turn underwear inside out part.
No, we're
That's
still
like day five probably.
Yeah. Okay. That's good advice, actually, being yourself, and obviously that's just her being herself, being Jennifer Lawrence. So.
Yeah, and she stands out, because like everybody else is starving themselves, and she goes to these things and she's like, are there any French fries? Like, do we have any food here?
Yeah.
And that's natural. Like, people don't see that in Hollywood.
But what about people so there are people that are trying to do that but are not natural. So what would you tell them?
Well, because they're pretending and then the truth comes out, right?
Okay.
And I think we live in a world where the truth comes out more frequently and at the wrong moments than ever we were able to control before. So,
Right.
When you're pretending, like you can't pretend for that long. It doesn't work. Long-term pretending is sort of obsolete.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about marketing trends. You like marketing trends? You like to talk about marketing trends?
Of course, yeah. Thanks for the leading question. That's really good.
Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to? What are you seeing? What are some trends you're seeing?
I could be like Craig from Craigslist and give you like yes or no answers, and that would.
Then we'll just sit up here and everyone will stare at us. It'll
really
be
tough.
awkward.
Start. Yeah, really tough. Start.
Well, then we start reading the book. It's like, let me tell you about this. It's only 272 pages. This will take a minute.
Yeah. Is it with or without index, Frank? Tell me about that.
I think it's without.
Okay, all right. I think, one of the biggest trends, which I think is affecting media across the board, is something that I've called curated sensationalism. This idea that, like, the more sensational you can make it, you don't even have to have a new or original story. Like, you can go and find a video that was posted online 20 years ago.
Right.
You can go and find an old, like, there was an article on, like, BuzzFeed is the worst at this, but Upworthy's, like, really, using the same thing. There was an article, I think it was, like, the one thing about Home Alone that you never noticed. And you like read that headline, you're like, oh my god,
what was it? I need to find out.
Yeah, like I can't help it. I gotta like click on it. You know, it's like, and
I kind of now want to go search it after this. I mean,
so you're going to like you just can't help it.
Yeah.
Like I remember
he wasn't really alone. Like
or like he wasn't actually a kid. He had to shave every.
He wasn't
morning.
home.
Like,
I mean, what is it? I don't know. Yeah,
I forgot what it was. So you will actually have to.
Does anybody know what it was? Like, I do remember that.
Like it was like that's a recent thing we think.
Yeah.
But then like I think it was 3 years ago, I remember like turning to back in the day when I had a Yahoo email address and I would go to that homepage.
Yeah.
And there was a homepage story that I think was the #1 story for like an entire either a week or like a couple of days. And the title of the story was just 3 words. It was Squirrel Dodges Lamborghini. And it was a video of literally a squirrel running across the racetrack and a Lamborghini like going right over it, and then the squirrel survives. And you're like, that's the #1 story? Like, we are all royally fucked. If that's the #1 thing that everybody's paying attention to, like...
I mean, the only thing better than that would be a chicken, because we've always want to know what happens, you know?
Maybe you should use that as a viral video for a book promotion.
Or why you cross the road. Anyway, so you get the idea. That's a great idea. They turn it into a GIF, and all of a sudden it's animated GIF, and it's viral.
I hope somebody's writing that down for you. I mean, really. You have like an idea capture from tonight, right?
That'd be great,
Maybe on the board over there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay. Is there any other? So you work with startups now. You kind of try to connect them with brands, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay. What is like the most single most like troubling or fascinating thing that you see that with these startups you work with that you think they need help with?
I think the most troubling thing is that every startup thinks that the way to make money is to sell advertising. And that's not what brands are buying. And there's a mismatch. Because advertising, first of all, is usually purchased by a lot of these media buying agencies, and they're just buying impressions.
Right.
And as a startup, you don't have any. You don't have that many people. So the wrong thing to sell is advertising in the traditional sense of impressions, because that's what brands are buying and you don't have it.
Right.
The right thing to try and sell is something that's more focused on either sponsorship or content, which is a different thing. It may seem like a super nuanced thing to somebody who's not in that world to say, well, isn't advertising just the same as sponsorship?
Right.
But it really isn't, because one of the things I try and do is connect the right startup with the right brand for like pilot programs.
Right.
Which, for example, like first of all, it really sucks to try and sell on a CPM basis.
No, it's impossible.
Like,
I mean, people approach us to try to do that on Tech Cocktail, and it doesn't make sense. Like it's
doesn't
easier.
make sense.
It's easier to get a bigger partnership that actually tries to go after a goal versus, chasing clicks.
Yeah, it'd be like if you went and like sold your book not based on like buy the whole book for $20, but pay me per word that you read of the book.
Yeah.
That's like the dumbest thing ever. Like,
Right.
why would you ever?
Actually, I would make a lot more money that way.
You think so?
Yeah, there's a lot of words.
Not if it was 0.00 whatever cents per
okay,
word, right?
Okay, all right. I thought you could set.
You got to
set the
negotiate
price.
your rates.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
But wouldn't you rather do like a set deal to say,
Yeah.
we're going to pay X amount for
Right.
this program, and we're going to do it as a pilot, and it's going to, we know what the effectiveness is going to be. Like, it's just
$20,000 a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll work on that.
All right.
I'll find a brand.
Yeah,
That's,
that will pay me that much. No, yeah, there you go. All right. Thank you so much for your insights, Rohit.